I recently ranked and reviewed every mainline Kirby game in preparation for Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Of course, that means that there's an obvious question: where does it stack up when compared with the rest? And the answer is, well, you already know because you saw the thumbnail and you read the title. It's my favorite one. So let's talk about Kirby and the Forgotten Land and what makes it the best mainline Kirby game. Right off the bat, the Forgotten Land leans into my favorite style of design for a Kirby game. After all, these games are designed to be easy and simple, and that's fine. However, I always appreciate when the creators can cram some challenge into the mix. So this game goes the route of having the main objectives be mostly easy, but there are plenty of more in-depth, optional challenges scattered between mandatory objectives. First, there are the Treasure Road challenges. These are designed around specific copy abilities, meaning that the designers are able to hone in and craft particular levels without worrying about all the ways players could break the challenges using other copy abilities. As such, they're a lot more pointed in design. Then, since they have goal times to reach, they also encourage mastery with each ability, helping the player understand just how special they are and how much they can squeeze out of them. Second, there are the little challenges speckled throughout the main levels themselves. Some of these are optional rooms we've seen in the likes of Triple Deluxe onward, but others are integrated into the level using the majestic, marketing, focus, and marvelous mouthful mode. After all, during these sections, Kirby's regular moves are stripped away from him. Once again, this means that designers can craft carefully considered challenges around a relatively limited set of abilities. And they manage to do that while also removing one of the potential pitfalls of this type of system. I mean, in Return to Dreamland, the Rift sections function similarly, but they took away Kirby's ability in the process. It's incredibly simple in its brilliance, but now the player is far less likely to feel that their agency is being taken from them, since, once this part is complete, they'll still have their copy ability. This way, the Forgotten Land manages to have its cake and eat it too. Then there's just the general level design in the main levels, which is similarly strong. Since Kirby's flight has been significantly limited, now the game can have more typical platforming challenges that slowly escalate as the game progresses. Along with that, even though it's often possible to bypass baddies with ease, there are sections where the player's only way forward involves smacking a few skulls together. On top of that, the game isn't just concerned with getting from point A to B. Nah, there's plenty of exploration thrown into the mix. Now, I've always been a fan of Kirby games or modes that place more focus on exploration. I mean, since Kirby is a pretty overpowered pink puffball, adding in another point of interest, another potential appeal to keep me hooked, it just works well for me. And this game uses the third dimension to lean into that, with plenty of hidden paths tucked away, side objectives, and moments that require the player to view this 3D space from multiple angles to find everything. Sure, this game is definitely still more focused on linear levels that funnel players from area to area, but these little side excursions are greatly appreciated. Overall, all of this gives the game's main stages a great rhythm, as the player moves from regular platforming as Kirby to combat to mouthful mode madness to exploration. Even though none of it is all that difficult, there's still plenty of challenge, and beyond that, the variety keeps any one style of gameplay from getting stale. Really, I only have one problem. See, these levels have optional missions attached to them that are necessary for 100% completion. The first time through a level, none of them are visible though. However, if you finish the level without completing them, then one of them will be revealed when you reach the goal. Now, a system like this is fine for objectives related to exploration and discovery. After all, some might prefer to stumble upon a hidden path without first being told that's something to look out for. Basically, if the game makes its objectives too obvious, the levels could begin to feel like a checklist of sorts, which would seriously undermine the sense of exploration. But the problem is that plenty of these challenges aren't really related to exploration. There are a decent dose that just task players with defeating a certain enemy using a specific copy ability, or doing something without taking damage. Basically stuff where it would have been nice to know that I could have just done it during my first run through the level, or at least I could have known that I needed to be more careful during a fight. This is made so much worse by the fact that the game doesn't save any completed missions or collected Waddle Dees unless you beat the whole level again. It just feels like unnecessary padding in a game that is otherwise so tight with content. As such, 100%ing this game is unnecessarily bloated. Still, while this is definitely a problem I'd like to see addressed, all the other great stuff I discussed still stands. These levels are largely a joy to play through, and they are some of the strongest in the entire franchise. However, these levels wouldn't mean much if Kirby himself wasn't satisfying to control, but fortunately this game's got you covered. Kirby controls fantastically here, and I'm sure that was no easy feat. After all, Kirby's sucking, blowing, floating, and range of copy abilities make him a character that could have a lot of problems in a 3D space, but the designers managed to deal with each of them. First, sucking and blowing is handled using a fairly gentle lock-on function, which snaps Kirby to the nearest target. Systems like this can often feel a bit too controlling by making a decision the player didn't intend to make. However, I don't think I ever ran into a serious instance of that issue during my entire playthrough. Second, the floating. The answer to this problem is simple. Don't let the player do it as much. Basically, you can still get over gaps or enemy attacks using this, but its verticality has been significantly reduced. Yeah, I'm sure that could be disappointing to some, but I think it makes sense. Again, I think the benefits of this far outweigh the potential negatives. Third, the copy abilities. These are awesome. The new ones they've created feel right at home here, while the old ones have never felt better. They're all snappy, responsive, and just a blast to use. And yes, I'm including Sleep in that. Look at him. He's so cute. As I've already mentioned though, the Treasure Road levels help the player understand what they can squeeze out of this by encouraging mastery, and man did it feel good to learn the ins and outs of each of these abilities. Additionally, many side objectives will task players with using a certain ability to get through a certain section of the level. Just like with the other best Kirby games I've discussed, this leads to levels where it doesn't just feel like Kirby was plopped into them. Nah, they were designed around him. Then the bosses. Yeah, the bosses are good. The way the camera is always focused on them gives them a sense of spectacle and scale that makes them stand out from the crowd. Now, these copy abilities combined with the combat have always given Kirby games plenty of variety and a great sense of player agency, but both these appeals of Kirby have been built upon with an upgrade system. Here you can choose your favorite version of each of these abilities and use that one throughout your adventure once you unlock it. In many cases, these upgrades don't differ all that much from the previous versions, but still, the aesthetic changes and the tweaks that are there are definitely appreciated, and they help keep the whole game fresh. But this is part of another one of the game's biggest improvements over prior Kirby titles as well. The sense of progression here is fantastic. Now, Return to Dreamland did a good job of this too, with some unexpected additional worlds, unlockable challenge rooms, and some narrative twists toward the end. But this game takes it to the next level. Here, almost every system feeds into another one in some manner. What I mean is that what were once isolated minigames in a pause screen or the main menu have now been integrated into Waddle Dee Town, a town that the player builds up because they save enough Waddle Dees throughout the regular levels. Meanwhile, treasures collected by completing challenges like the Coliseum or the Treasure Roads or even some minigames are then used to upgrade copy abilities, which can then be used to give the player an advantage as they search for more Waddle Dees. It might sound like a small thing, but having this adorable town form throughout the adventure, having each of these systems click together here, it made me so much more motivated to engage with the extra content. The same can be said for the game's post-game material. Though it really isn't all that different from prior hard modes or challenge run modes in the previous games, it now has a narrative framework that makes it feel like more of an actual part of the adventure. Plus, I found these remix levels to be among the most interesting remixes in the entire series, so hey, that's pretty cool too. Of course, part of this progression is the narrative too, and the aesthetic design is also part of that. Now, I wouldn't say it's quite as great as Planet Robobot's roboticized locales, but the post-apocalyptic tilt helps even the more typical level theme shine, while also connecting to the game's narrative. But I won't go into the narrative too much for a couple reasons. First off, the game just released, and I want people to have the opportunity to discover some of this stuff for themselves. Second, it's one of those things that I don't personally appreciate because of the details. Instead, I appreciate it because it helps give this game its own style or vibe, its own identity, basically. Honestly, I do think they could have pushed some of this a bit further by wandering away from typical level archetypes a bit more frequently. I mean, the few times they do something truly different here were the ones I love the most, but still, I enjoy what we have here all the same. At the end of the day though, this game managed to reinvent Kirby while keeping all of the stuff that makes his game special to me. This could be a textbook example of how to move a series from 2D to 3D. Sure, that transition took the creators a long time to make, but did they ever do a great job of it? They crafted a polished product, a short but tight adventure packed with loads of variety, leaned into some of the series' greatest strengths, and kept that comfy Kirby charm I've come to know and love. The creators have definitely shown that this pink puffball's got plenty of potential left in him, and I'm excited to see where they go next. Speaking of potential though, you're a potential subscriber to this, sorry. That was bad, but yeah, you can check out that ranking I made of every mainline Kirby game. I've also got a review of Kirby Air Ride, which is an awesome game. I really like that one too. Either way though, thanks for watching, subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you next time.